What happens when a drunk laugh at a party becomes public betrayal? How can a quiet husband answer with process instead of rage and still win? Why does the result land hardest when the papers arrive, where everyone can see? My name is Dido Maran, and tonight I will narrate the consequences. I am 32, a pharmacy technician with strong opinions today. My husband, Noah Reed, prefers quiet order over messy feelings. At parties, I become bright, loud, and hungry for attention. Last weekend, a stranger touched me playfully while Noah watched. I laughed, called it harmless fun, and sipped another drink. People cheered. I told myself jealousy proves love is alive. Later, he asked questions. I said he controlled my freedom. My mother Marta excuses passion. She says men exaggerate pain. My father Ronan warns softly about money, jobs, and reputation. Noah grew quiet, and I framed silence as cold punishment. Online friends posted edits, calling me brave for breaking rules. Eleanor, his sister, called it humiliation. I called it honesty. I planned a better story before work, with careful captions. Sana, my manager, noticed the tardiness and asked for a meeting. I smiled, promised focus, and blamed stress from Noah's jealousy. At home, small signals gathered like rain before real weather. Folders thickened, a calendar pinged. His phone showed meeting personal today. I ignored signs and wrote captions about freedom over rules. Morning comes soon, I still believe attention cleans every mistake. I painted eyeliner sharp, telling myself attention fixes every broken feeling. Noah set 2 mugs apart and I called that morning distance. He asked about plans. I said friends needed me tonight downtown. He said quiet evenings help recovery. I said routine suffocates bright people. I texted Sasha that a rooftop would heal my restless heart. She replied with hearts. I screenshotted them for later confidence boosts. In the kitchen, my phone preview flashed, then disappeared under my thumb. I renamed a contact with a single emoji for pleasant secrecy. Noah checked the wall planner. A red circle glowed around Saturday. He said groceries tomorrow early. I said the market opens all day. He placed the keys carefully, and I called that control in my head. I took photos by the mirror, pretending happiness arrived through angles. The rideshare smelled like gum and cologne, perfect for party beginnings. I posted a caption about sparkle, not struggle, tagging the rooftop. Friends greeted me with laughter, bright as plastic cups clacking together. I described Noah as practical. They called me brave for resisting boredom. I told them married people need playful experiments to refresh romance gently. The skyline blinked like approval. I raised a glass for courage. Music thumped. I walked to the rail and ignored missed calls. A group cheered my dress. I said confidence belongs to generous women. Sasha filmed me spinning while comments stacked like confetti on screen. Noah arrived later, neat shirt pressed, expression careful but not cruel. He asked about food. I said dancing first matters more than eating. He nodded once and I read indifference where patience actually lived. A man introduced himself as Cade, calling the view unbelievable tonight. I said attention looked better than stars. He laughed at that. On the dance floor, he lifted my hand with an easy charm. I let his palm rest at my waist, very obviously present. People noticed. I told myself we were proving playfulness without harm. Noah stood near speakers, hands folded, absorbing everything without a word. I told Sasha he liked numbers, not music. She rolled eyes. We moved outside to the smoking patio for cooler air. Cade offered a light joke. I leaned closer to hear better. His fingers traced my rib briefly and I did not move. I said it was harmless, a silly party rule-breaking moment tonight. A stranger's camera clicked. I posed like freedom with practiced confidence. Noah stepped forward, then paused, then stepped back toward the railing. I said he should relax. He looked past me toward traffic. Someone shouted that marriage needs fun. I toasted that edited wisdom publicly. Sasha whispered that optics gleamed. I said optics feed relationships more. Noah set down a water bottle. I ignored the offered truce. I told Cade parties forgive everything. He said, parties remember everything. I laughed too loud and called his warning theatrical and unnecessary. Inside, servers cleared plates. I claimed I was saving room later. Noah asked if I felt safe. I said I felt adored. He said we could go. I said the night just started. He breathed slowly, watching me play the main character without mercy. The DJ changed tracks, and my heart sprinted toward brighter applause. I gave Cade my number, disguised under a cheerful fruit emoji. He texted a wave. I deleted the preview with practiced ease. Noah glanced at my screen. I tilted it away from him. I whispered that jealousy equals love. He said, jealousy equals hurt. I told friends he controlled me. They hugged me for surviving. Outside the club, he called a rideshare. I posed for selfies. In the car, I announced that adults can redefine rules as needed. He stared out windows while city ads painted colours across his face. I decided apology could wait. Tonight required branding, not honesty first. At home, separate mugs waited like flags in faraway countries again. He asked if I crossed a line. I said lines move. He said feelings bleed. I said stories heal when followers clap. The hallway smelled like toner. A thin binder rested near envelopes. I noticed a sticky note reading bring forms, then looked away. He folded a blanket onto the guest bed without commentary tonight. I said he was punishing me. He said sleep helps arguments. I laughed and opened my gallery, saving highlights for morning uploads. My mother texted hearts. I screenshotted approval for future use again. I typed a caption claiming passion needs air. My thumb hovered. Noah's phone lit as private, then went dark while he exhaled. I told myself calm equals guilt. He arranged mail into straight stacks. He locked a drawer quietly as I walked by the doorway. I whispered that secrets poison love, he said. Records protect memory. I called him dramatic. He rinsed a glass and said nothing more. I tucked my dress into the hamper, pretending confidence beats consequences. He placed keys on the hook, adding one unfamiliar silver newcomer. I asked about the new key. He said, organization reduces stress. I rolled my eyes and set an alarm labeled paper drop tomorrow. He turned off the lights. I scrolled through tags praising my bravery. My screen filled with hearts. I believed hearts equal truth at last. He entered the bedroom and closed the door with careful restraint. My phone vibrated with an unknown caller, just as the door latched. Morning arrived with dull light, and my head still hummed from applause last night. Noah brewed coffee silently, placing 2 mugs far apart like border posts this morning. I typed captions about freedom while pretending headaches meant growth, not guilt for me. He asked about my shift, and I said schedule changes barely matter this week. He nodded, checked the planner, and circled Saturday again with quiet patience at home. I saw a sticky note reading bring forms, drifting beside a folder near mail. I grabbed my bag and left early, chasing sympathy through working hours once more. The pharmacy buzzed with scanners, receipts, and fluorescent patients over plastic smiles for customers. Sana waved me over, saying she wanted a quick word about attendance this month. I said stress at home caused delays. She suggested resources for support at work. I promised renewed focus, and she nodded while noting details without judgment this time. At the counter, a customer recognized me from videos and smiled knowingly at me. I said parties get misread. He said cameras rarely misunderstand simple actions these days. Break room gossip sounded gentle, but eyes lingered where my dress clung last night. Sasha messaged trending updates. Hearts rose like bubbles in hot soda all morning long. I replied with sparkle emojis, insisting bravery demands community applause and faith from friends. A co-worker asked if Noah felt okay. I said he dramatized jealousy every time. Sana passed again, reminding me politely about lunch break policies and punctuality this week. I nodded, then checked the group chat where comments split sharply into teams today. One thread praised independence, another called my laughter cruel and rehearsed for attention seekers. I told myself critics fear women who refuse cages during marriage every single time. Noah texted he would drop lunch. I typed a busy and unreadable response on purpose. He arrived anyway, set a container down, and met my eyes without visible anger. He asked about rest. I answered focus first, feelings later after closing today only. He nodded, then glanced at his phone as a reminder pinged, meeting, personal. I asked about appointments. He said personal errands downtown need attention this morning soon. Through the office window, I glimpsed a laptop screen minimized mid-edit when I approached. Rows of initials and dates flickered before collapsing into a desktop with calm wallpaper. I told myself spreadsheets mean nothing. He protects pride with busy work, not real plans. Back at the register, notifications stacked about tags and reposted angles from last night. A short clip showed Cade's hand resting clearly against my waist, under bright lights. I commented that playful touching differs from cheating, viewers argued in circles for hours. My mother posted hearts again. My father left a careful warning about jobs' reputations. Eleanor messaged Noah privately. I saw him smile sadly at nothing for several seconds. I told co-workers Noah enjoys drama. They nodded, though eyes stayed cold around me. In the break room, I polished captions and softened certain words before posting anything. Sasha urged bolder language, promising numbers jump when tension reads spicy to audiences online. I asked Cade for a coffee later. He replied maybe tomorrow if schedules align. I called that considerate, though my stomach turned slow and heavy with small doubts. Sana reappeared, asking for another meeting about time cards and expectations later this same week. I smiled brightly and said everything at home was under control for now anyway. She looked unconvinced, then thanked me for listening without interrupting today during work hours. Near closing, Noah returned, wearing headphones and typing with measured care beside reception chairs. His phone lit with private, then dimmed as he dismissed the call without comment. I hovered nearby, his window minimized again when he noticed movement by my shoulder. He handed me the lunch container back, washed clean and stacked with folded napkins. I said thanks without warmth. He said routines help people survive rough social storms. I posted a final story, declaring love stronger than jealous noise from outsiders online. A new tag appeared, placing me beside Cade under neon letters last night. The group chat exploded, and Sana requested another quick word immediately as customers watched. Sasha met me before the birthday, adjusting my dress like armor. She said the crowd would love confidence, and I agreed without hesitation. I practiced a light speech about growth on the rooftop terrace beforehand. The city wind lifted my hair while I rehearsed clever lines carefully. I decided to call last night playful, not disloyal or cruel. We filmed a teaser clip with music and silly captions for attention. I told myself laughter would drown out any doubts or fears tonight. At the community center hall, balloons bumped banners and kids chased crumbs. Long tables stretched like runways, and plastic cups waited for noise. Friends waved with cautious smiles that hid curiosity about my stories. I chose a central seat because attention travels easiest across center space. Noah arrived late, bringing flowers for the host with steady hands today. He nodded at acquaintances, then sat 2 chairs away from me. Eleanor followed him, carrying a warm casserole and a cooler tone. I told Sasha that support would rise once I explained everything confidently. The host tapped a spoon and welcomed everyone to the celebration. Music softened while chatter settled into one large patient hush nearby. I lifted my glass and smiled like a practiced stage professional. My opening framed marriage as a journey that needs lightness and invention. Several cousins clapped quickly, others stared at their plates with puzzle faces. I leaned into humor about routines and how spark sometimes requires risk. A teenager raised his phone, red recording light steady and unblinking. I gestured toward decorations and called them symbols of second chances everywhere. Eleanor asked from her seat if second chances exclude basic loyalty between partners. Fawkes paused mid-air as the question floated like a cold feather. I answered that adults understand complexity when love grows tired and heavy. Uncle Theo tried redirecting with cake jokes, but tension held the room. Noah watched quietly, hands folded. shoulders neither tense nor slack, simply balanced. I interpreted calm as distance and narrated that distance creates desperate experiments sometimes. Sasha squeezed my wrist under the table, urging lighter words and smiles. I shared a story about last night with softened edges and edits. I called Cade a friendly stranger and minimized the touch as playful. Several faces shifted, moving from curiosity toward caution and private calculation tonight. A child nearby whispered to an aunt while eyes stayed on me. The teenager moved closer, camera lens catching sweat along my hairline. Noah stood and stepped into the hallway, headphones resting around his neck. He answered a call labeled private, then muted it immediately with care. I framed the call as avoidance and told myself victory looked calm. He returned with the same posture, sitting without interrupting conversations around him. The host encouraged a round of thanks for couples who work hard. I lifted my glass again and declared passion a duty for brave hearts. Elena asked whether humiliating your spouse counts as bravery or cruelty tonight. A breeze from the open door rattled paper banners across the wall. I insisted honesty cures wounds even when methods appear loud and unrefined. A cousin coughed, and several phones tilted to improve angles quickly. Sasha signaled me to pivot toward gratitude and soft community language immediately. I thanked everyone for support, then hinted at jealous noise from outsiders. Murmurs rolled like soft thunder around aluminum trays of steaming food. Noah asked the host if he could help slice the cake calmly. I said to the table that helpfulness often hides deeper indifference toward partners. Eleanor's jaw tightened while her hand steadied a wobbling stack of plates. The host announced cake after one last short toast for the birthday. Voices called for a final speech, and the camera lights brightened everywhere. I stood again, heart racing, but face trained into poise and light. I prepared a clever line turning last night into a lesson about freedom. Someone near the door whispered that freedom without respect becomes theatre and noise. I saw the teenager angle up for a better recording position carefully. Noah's phone buzzed again, and he dismissed another private call without hesitation. I decided to rebrand everything as practice for healthier marriage communication tonight. The room waited, spoons hovering above frosting and fruit like tiny planets. I spoke about growth requiring patience from observers who misunderstand brave experiments. Several guests exchanged looks that weighed cost against spectacle and family peace. Eleanor folded her napkin slowly, eyes never leaving my performance at all. Noah thanked the host for cake again, voice measured, posture open, unflinching. I felt my power wobble and grabbed the table edge discreetly hard. The music faded lower, and children hushed at the sensing of conflict. I smiled wider and promised a positive ending after necessary public clarity. The cousin with the camera stepped closer, red light pulsing like a metronome. The host sighed and gestured for quiet, allowing me final uninterrupted lines. I drew breath, pretending calm, while my throat tightened against cottony air. Outside the open door, evening cicadas rasped like soft, relentless applause. A chant rose unexpectedly, asking for one more bold toast tonight. The camera flash popped again, washing faces white and then normal immediately. I gripped my glass and felt sweat slide under my bracelet slowly. Noah looked at the exit sign, then settled and faced forward again. Eleanor tilted her head, waiting, as forks tapped plates in nervous rhythm. The crowd chanted louder while phones held steady across the long table. I lifted my glass into the lights as recording indicators blinked red. Sunday afternoon's sun painted the playground bright, while Jasper tugged my sleeve gently. He asked if touching strangers counts as cheating when husbands watch nearby. I said parties complicate rules, and adults understand nuance better than crowds. He asked whether I would accept Dad touching someone playfully beside me. I said context matters, and people should stop judging fun without full stories. He stared at the slide and said love should feel safe first. I said safety includes freedom, which sometimes looks messy before becoming better fairness. He kicked gravel and asked why Uncle Noah slept in the guest room. I said serious couples take space to think clearly when feelings get tangled. He asked whether space was leaving, and my throat tightened despite practiced smiles. I changed topics to ice cream while swings squeaked like guilty hinges nearby. Parents watched quietly, faces arranging into kindness that still carried judgment through glances. I told myself attention scares people who surrendered to boredom many years ago. Jasper asked whether Mum would forgive me if roles were reversed tonight. I said hypotheticals waste time, and families survive storms through brave communication choices. He nodded slowly, but his mouth stayed worried, like holding rainwater carefully. We walked toward the supermarket, following the crosswalk with blinking orange patience. Inside, fluorescent light hummed like a lie pretending everything was perfectly normal. Produce misters sprayed, glittering strawberries that looked like props for redemption posts later tonight. Two neighbours stood near onions, whispering quietly while pretending to study sale stickers. One asked if the video was real. I said context vanished online. Another said Noah looked hurt. I said he enjoyed drama more than intimacy. The cashier scanned items, beeps echoed like small judgments pressing against my ears. I spoke loudly about privacy rights, inviting witnesses for my noble monologue today. The cashier nodded neutrally while bagging bread, cereal, and carefully selected apology flowers. My phone buzzed with tags. I ignored previews to protect confidence from critics. Outside, Jasper repeated his question about cheating, smaller now, almost disappearing into the wind. I said adults define rules together, and last night was only playful attention. He asked whether playfulness becomes cheating when someone cries later behind bathroom doors. I looked away and said crying often means growth, not injury, after honesty. His eyes dimmed, and he asked whether honesty should make stomachs hurt overnight. I told him growing courage sometimes stings like medicine before health returns properly. We reached our building steps while shadows stretched long like caution tape across concrete. On the landing, the air carried a faint smell of printer toner. The guest bed looked perfectly made, sheets tucked like a hotel display again. A thin binder labelled utilities sat thicker than last week beside mail. A sticky note reading bring forms clung to a folder with decisive edges. Two mugs waited on opposite counters, standing like flags for separate countries tonight. Noah's laptop chimed a cloud sync pop-up. File uploaded successfully, then hid instantly. I said I needed the charger. A desk drawer clicked locked as I entered. Papers were stacked by date, and envelopes flipped neatly like informed soldiers everywhere. My mother texted hearts again. I screenshotted them, proof of passion-friendly counsel today. My father sent a single warning about budgets. I left it unread. Eleanor messaged Noah directly. His face stayed steady, unreadable, centered on breathing. I told Jasper pancakes would happen tomorrow. He asked if Noah would make them. I said probably yes, depending on schedules, calendars, and adults managing feelings responsibly. He asked if feelings become easier after binders, schedules, and forms arrive quietly. I said order helps, and chaos destroys love faster than strict routines possibly. He whispered that secrets sound like drawers clicking shut when footsteps approach slowly. I said privacy protects relationships, especially during complicated public moments with nosy neighbours. He asked whether privacy would hide me from consequences I called jealous noise already. I said consequences belong to people who refuse perspective. I simply chose honesty bravely. He frowned and asked whether honesty includes admitting someone got hurt very publicly. I said critics weaponize tears, forgetting how growth requires discomfort for everyone involved. The hallway echoed gently as neighbours passed, offering polite smiles without committing support. I opened the balcony door. Evening wind tugged at my hair like a nervous friend. Cars drifted below, headlights sliding across windows like slow-reading searchlights through stories. My phone buzzed again. A group chat demanded explanations using clipped, stern sentences. I typed that playful touching heals stale marriages. Responses flooded with doubtful faces. Inside, the shredder hummed briefly, then stopped as footsteps approached the study. Noah set his keys on the hook. A new, unfamiliar key glinted. He asked if groceries were put away. I said everything was handled responsibly. He said schedules matter this week. I said love matters more than timetables, honestly. He checked the wall planner with a red circle around Saturday's cool deadline. He said mornings would be busy. I said we needed an emotional conversation tonight. He said tomorrow works. I said tomorrow lets rumours grow stronger against fairness. He placed a labelled folder near binders divided home, auto and bank carefully. I said paperwork felt theatrical. He said records protect memory when feelings become unreliable. He rinsed a mug and set it on the opposite counter precisely again. Jasper hovered, watching us like a referee learning rules during pre-season quietly. He asked whether I would let someone touch Noah playfully beside me. I swallowed hard and said context would matter, though pain would still matter. Jasper stared at my hands, then looked at Noah, then back again. The apartment felt balanced on a thin line stretched across muttering air. A floorboard creaked. Distant footsteps paused outside our door for a moment. The new key tapped the hook softly while the hall whispered its echo. Jasper asked the hardest question while Eleanor knocked firmly on our door. Sana asked for a quick word and I followed her calmly. She noted tardiness, posts, and customer whispers about last week's party. I said home stress caused delays, and growth sometimes looks messy. She offered resources. I smiled brightly and promised stronger focus tomorrow. Leaving her office, I passed reception and saw Noah waiting. He wore headphones and typed slowly, posture calm and collected. His screen flashed a message thread titled Follow Up, then minimized instantly. I asked if he needed anything. He said he was fine. He checked his phone and dismissed a calendar ping. Meeting. Personal. I laughed and said paperwork cannot fix a bruised marriage. He answered that clarity helps people breathe when noise gets loud. I told myself he performed control while pretending quiet compassion for show. At lunch, I met Cade by the riverside with runners passing. He said coffee worked, but leases and public labels felt risky. I said risk proves devotion. He stared at boats and shrugged. He called the touching playful. I agreed and called backlash boring. When I pressed for next steps, he said maybe weekends sometimes. I smiled like acceptance and swallowed the taste of rejection carefully. Back home, the stairwell smelled faintly of printer toner again. On the hallway table, mail stacks were flipped and neatly ordered. The guest bed sheets were smoothed flat like a silent message. In the study, a laptop window minimized mid-edit as I entered. I said I just needed a charger. The room stayed quiet. A cloud sync pop-up blinked file uploaded successfully, then disappeared quickly. Inside the drawer, I heard the faint clink of a key. On the shelf, binders divided home, auto, bank stood in rows. A thin binder labelled utilities looked thicker than last week again. Near the taxes folder, a single USB stick showed today's date. I scrolled my gallery and found a cropped photo of a document. The title was cut off, only paragraphs visible without letterheads. I asked Noah if he planned to talk tonight about us. He said discussions need structure because memories shift under feelings fast. I called that corporate language for punishment at home without mercy. He said order protects people when stories fracture under public pressure. I paced the kitchen and pointed at the growing binders and folders. He said routines help, and chaos hurts everyone, especially children watching. His phone alarm buzzed softly with the label paper drop. He silenced it, then replaced the phone face down on marble. I said love cannot breathe under spreadsheets, plans, and constant labels. He met my eyes and said he would handle it properly. I laughed louder and asked if that meant threats or drama. He said only proper steps, then reached for his travel mug. He lifted his bag, checked a new unfamiliar key on the ring. He paused at the door, calm, and kept breathing like a measured tide. He said he hoped for peace and fewer performances moving forward now. The latch clicked closed, and footsteps faded down the quiet hall. The office tower lobby smelled like coffee, glass cleaner, and cold air. Noon crowds flowed around security desks while I rehearsed lines about forgiveness carefully. Noah waited by a column, posture steady, eyes calm, hands empty today. I suggested privacy upstairs. He nodded toward open space near the directory quietly. A neutral server approached, confirmed my name, and placed an envelope into my hand. The moment felt weighty, like a stage cue I could not refuse. I slid pages out and met bold headings without decorative letterheads anywhere. The petition listed temporary orders that started working immediately after proper receipt now. It granted Noah exclusive short-term use of our residence, effective upon service. Joint discretionary accounts were frozen pending the first scheduled conference next week. A clear date and time appeared, printed in numbers that refused interpretation. A separate page described handling personal property and a simple visitation schedule for obligations. My mouth formed defences, but they read thin against the tidy paragraphs. I said last weekend was playful, and he answered that consequences were procedural. I said love heals, and he answered that the process protects people from harm. The security guard glanced over and returned to scanning badges without visible interest. Phones chimed nearby while I counted pages with trembling, stubborn fingers resisting acceptance. Noah said questions should go to the contact listed on the first page. I said we should talk tonight, and he said the documents have already been answered tonight. The elevator bell chimed brightly, cutting through lobby noise like a silver blade. The server stepped back, noting completion, and vanished into the weekday crowd beyond us. I reread the line about exclusive residence and felt doors closing somewhere familiar. My phone vibrated again, but my hands stayed locked around the packet. Noah thanked me for meeting and said the next steps were clear and orderly. He pressed the elevator button and stood with unshakable, quiet dignity beside Chrome. The doors opened, he entered, nodded once and let the bell ring again. I stared at the first page and finally understood where I could not go.